1.
You're going to listen to a conversation between two people, a customer and a travel agent. First, look at questions 1 to 5.
Good morning. Can I help you?
Hello. Yes, well, I just want some information, actually. I'm trying to work out a trip at the end of the summer holidays.
Yes?
And I wonder if you could help me. I'm a student studying Arabic and I'm heading for Alexandria in Egypt to do my language year abroad out at the university there.
Right. I just need to get a few preliminary details. I'll put everything on the computer as we go along.
Okay.
First, when do you want to leave?
I have to be there by the 27th of September, and I'd like to leave about a month beforehand so I can do some sightseeing on the way.
So, let's say you want to leave on the 27th of August.
I was planning to leave around the 20th.
The 20th of August? Okay, that's a Sunday.
I'd rather leave on the Monday. Right, the 21st then.
So, the 21st. And did you want to fly?
I don't really want to have to fly straight there. Actually,
Yes?
I'd like to go by train and ferry to Paris.
What about going through the Channel Tunnel?
Well, I don't like the idea of going through tunnels. It scares me.
Oh, it's just like catching the London Underground.
I never catch the underground.
The ferry trains are pretty frequent, so you won't have to worry about that part of the journey. And where to after Paris?
Vienna.
Before you listen to the next part of the dialogue, look at questions 6 to 10.
From Paris to Vienna, by plane or train?
Train. I'd like to travel overnight, so I'd like a sleeper if possible.
Right. A sleeper to Vienna from Paris. Right. There's an early morning train to Vienna, the 7:50. But that won't work because you want an overnight train. But then there's one at 17:49.
Right.
And you're lucky because they leave from the Gare de l'Est, which is right next to the Gare du Nord station where the ferry train comes in.
Brilliant.
So that gets into Vienna at 8:35 the next morning. You see, that bit of the journey alone costs, let me see, £141.80.
Is that with the student discount?
Yes. And then?
I'd like to spend some time in Vienna. About a week, perhaps, before going on to Athens.
Train again?
Well, no. I was thinking of going by plane via Budapest and stopping off there for a couple of days.
You do realise that it's going to cost you a lot more going part of the way by plane and part by train. It would work out a lot cheaper if you did it all by train, or flew direct.
How much are we talking about?
Probably about, at least £250 more.
As much as that?
Well, yes. You'll probably have to get a scheduled flight from Budapest to Athens, and that's going to cost a lot more than by train.
Well, let's see when we add it all up at the end.
And the last leg of the trip from Athens?
I want to go from Piraeus by ferry.
I see. Okay. Now, I'm almost certain there's a ferry service to Alexandria from Piraeus, but I'll have to check. The computer's not giving me anything.
Can I think this over? I'm maybe making it more complicated than it really is.
Oh, by the way, have you checked the visa requirements for each country?
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
Right. Can I take a few personal details?
Okay.
Your name?
It's James Weston. That's Weston.
Right, fine. Okay then. And a daytime telephone number?
It's 0181 889 4269.
I've logged all these details on the computer. I'll just give you the reference.
It's James Weston. That's Weston.
Right, fine. Okay then. And a daytime telephone number?
It's 0181 889 4269.
I've logged all these details on the computer. I'll just give you the reference. It's IAMIFUR2.
IAMIFUR2.
You just quote this reference when you come in again or telephone. Then it will speed things up a bit.
Okay, thanks.
That is the end of part 1.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 2.
Part 2.
You will hear a talk on local radio about a short film festival in the town of Airborne. Now you have some time to look at questions 11 to 16.
Today we're pleased to have on the show Fatima Johnson, who is the organiser of the Airborne Film Festival. Welcome, Fatima.
Hello.
Can you tell us a bit about the background to the festival and what it brings to the town?
Well, the festival was started in 1996 by the then Mayor of Airborne, Joanne Smith. She wasn't a filmmaker herself. She'd actually been a very energetic tourism development officer for many years. But Airborne had run a classical music festival, which had been becoming less and less popular in recent years. Joanne was looking around for something to replace it, and to use funds allocated to it to promote something which local people can enjoy.
Great. So, tell us about the festival nowadays.
Well, it's held in the last 2 weeks of August every year, and short films from all over the world are shown in 3 places, in the theatre and our 2 cinemas. Several films are shown in 1 performance, and the whole thing lasts about 90 minutes. Tickets are very reasonably priced. Under 12s used to get in for 50p, but now we charge just £1, which is still very good value. £1.50 for students and £2.50 for everyone else. Performances are advertised all around town and also on our website, www.adbornfest.com. If you're interested in attending any performance, you can buy tickets online, of course, and you can also get them in the library, which is right next to the main shopping area. I'm afraid this year tickets are no longer available from either of the 2 cinemas because of restricted opening times.
I understand you also run a film competition?
Yes, for under 18s. We have a different theme every year. Last year, for example, the theme was Future Planet, and the winner was a 10-minute documentary encouraging youngsters to be more aware of environmental issues. focusing on getting school kids to cycle to school instead of going by car. This year, the theme is Sporting Nation, so there'll also be lots of ideas to choose from. Now, we're always on the lookout for new local talent, so if you live in the Airborne area and are under 18, you should have a go. We have an excellent prize every year donated by local businesses, shops, hotels, etc. This year, you can win a high-spec movie camera worth over £800. Application forms are on the website, and the deadline for sending in your film to enter the competition is the last day of July. It's May now, so you'll have the whole of June to be working on it.
Now you have some time to look at questions 17 to 20.
And what are the judges looking for?
Well, although we choose very topical issues like the environment, we're not looking for propaganda, trying to get people to do something. Instead, we're looking for a new angle, a fresh way of looking at a theme. And of course, because it's a short film festival, it's not really about a fully worked story with well-rounded characters. It's more about good photography, conveying things visually.
And who judges the films?
A panel of 3 people who know a lot about film. We've used the same judges for many years, and we're very happy with their expertise. One thing we probably will change next year, though, is we want to add another class and another prize for older filmmakers. We'll keep it at a maximum of 10 minutes, though. The length works well for our festival. We also want to use different venues for the film shows, such as community centres and at least one school. It might make performances more accessible to a wider audience. We did explore the possibility of having late-night showings, but that's unlikely to happen in the coming year. So, as I say, if anyone's interested in submitting a film for our competition, go onto our website and you'll be able to access everything.
That is the end of part 2.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 3.
Part 3.
You are going to listen to a tutorial with a university lecturer and 3 of his students. First, look at questions 21 to 25.
This is our third and last group tutorial of the term. Have you been finding them of any use?
Oh yes, I get a lot out of them.
Me too. And what about you, Lorraine?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, right. Anything for this week, Lorraine? No? Okay, Frilla?
Well, you know I have 2 teenage daughters and I'm a single parent.
Yes.
Well, I'm finding it less and less easy to study as a mature student and have a teenage family. The girls have been playing me up.
And what exactly do you mean by that?
Kimberly, the eldest, has a boyfriend and she's taken to staying out later and later and she's becoming difficult to control. And the younger one, who's 14, misses Kimberly because they were always together.
And
I feel as if I'm letting them down by doing this course. They don't have a father, and all they've got is me. I just don't know what to do.
It is a difficult situation, this one.
My mum did the same thing. Went back to studying when I was 16, and I think at the time I got really jealous.
Of what?
The course.
The course?
Well, it wasn't just the course. It was the other people, and the fact that my mum's time was taken up by other things and people. At the time, I didn't like it.
That's the problem here, I think.
And what happened, Stevie?
Well, I started playing up to attract attention, and doing some pretty stupid things, in fact, really stupid things.
Like what? Oh, go on, tell us.
No. Anyway, my mum sat my brother and me down and told us how important the course was for her and us, and why she hadn't been able to do it before.
And?
Well, she said that even though it had cost her a lot of money, and she was having to work part-time to keep everything going, she was prepared to give it up.
And did she?
Of course not, Lorraine. We felt pretty stupid. After that, we helped out more, and both of us got a job, a small job, so that she didn't have to give us any pocket money.
Well, Frida, maybe you should try the same approach.
I think I might just give it a try. Thanks, Stevie, you're a star.
And what about you then, Stevie?
Before you listen to the rest of the tutorial, look at questions 26 to 30.
I've got a rather more mundane problem. Well, maybe not that mundane.
Mm-hmm.
I had to type a paper for a seminar for this Friday, and I had everything almost ready and...
And?
My laptop crashed.
Haven't you got a copy on disk?
No,
You're crazy. This isn't the first time it's happened to you. Haven't you learnt by now?
I know. But that doesn't help me at the moment, does it?
You just don't listen, do you?
Leave him alone, Lorraine. You're not exactly helping, are you?
I think Frida is right. There's no point in crying over spilt milk.
Have you a rough copy?
Yes, but...
You can type it in again.
I'm very slow, and I'm not going to get it done in time. I also have to get OHPs together as well. They were on the computer, and it was just as I was printing them out that the machine went. I also have to hand a typed-up summary in 2,000 words, bound as well, to Dr. Johnson the day before. And, on top of that, I have to hand in the full paper at the end of the seminar. As it goes towards my final grade, and a credit is taken off for handing papers in late, I have to do it. And it's Tuesday now, so I haven't really got much time. I nearly didn't come today.
Don't worry, Stevie. I'll help you do it if you want. We can start straight after the tutorial.
Will you, Farilla?
Yes.
You should let him do it himself.
No, Lorraine.
He helped me, so I don't see why I shouldn't help him. You could lend a hand too, you know. You don't know when you might need help.
It's okay, Farilla. We can do it together.
Well, two people sorted. Now, what about you, Lorraine?
That is the end of part 3.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 4.
Unknown caller.
Part 4.
You will hear a postgraduate psychology student talking to other students about a job satisfaction study he has investigated. Before you listen, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40.
Good morning, everyone. For my presentation today, I'm going to report on an assignment that I did recently. My brief was to analyze the methods used in a small study about job satisfaction, and then to make recommendations for future studies of a similar kind. The study that I looked at had investigated the relationship between differences in gender and differences in working hours and levels of job satisfaction amongst workers. For this purpose, employees at a call center had been asked to complete a questionnaire about their work. I'll summarize the findings of that study briefly now. First of all, female full-time workers reported slightly higher levels of job satisfaction than male full-time workers. Secondly, female part-time workers reported slightly higher levels of satisfaction than female full-time ones did. On the other hand, male part-time workers experienced slightly less job satisfaction than male full-time workers. But although these results seemed interesting and capable of being explained, perhaps the most important thing to mention here is that in statistical terms, they were inconclusive. Personally, I was surprised that the findings hadn't been more definite, because I would have expected to find that men and women, as well as full and part-time workers, would experience different levels of satisfaction. So I then looked more carefully at the methodology employed by the researchers to see where there may have been problems. This is what I found. First of all, the size of the sample was probably too small. The overall total of workers who took part in the survey was 223, which sounds quite a lot, but they had to be divided up into subgroups. Also, the numbers in the different subgroups were unequal. For example, there were 154 workers in the full-time group, but only 69 in the part-time group. And amongst this part-time group, only 10 were male, compared to 59 who were female. Secondly, although quite a large number of people had been asked to take part in the survey, the response was disappointingly low. A lot of them just ignored the invitation. And workers who did respond may have differed in important respects from those who didn't. Thirdly, as the questionnaires had been posted to the call center for distribution, the researchers had had very limited control over the conditions in which participants completed them. For instance, their responses to questions may have been influenced by the views of their colleagues. All these problems may have biased the results. In the last part of my assignment, I made recommendations for a similar study, attempting to remove the problems that I've just mentioned. Firstly, a much larger sample should be targeted, and care should be taken to ensure that equal numbers of both genders and both full and part-time workers are surveyed. Secondly, the researchers should ensure that they are present to administer the questionnaires to the workers themselves. And should they require the workers to complete the questionnaire under supervised conditions so that the possibility of influence from other colleagues is eliminated. Finally, as workers may be unwilling to provide details of their job satisfaction when they are on work premises, it's important that the researchers reassure them that their responses will remain confidential, and also that they have the right to withdraw from the study at any time if they want to. By taking measures like these, the reliability of the responses to the questionnaires is likely to be increased, and any comparisons that are made are likely to be more valid. So, that was a summary of my assignment. Does anyone have any questions?
That is the end of part 4.
You now have half a minute to check your